Okay, straight line depreciation. When we're talking about straight line depreciation, we're really looking at a depreciation rate that is pretty constant throughout the life of an asset that we may have. Now, let's look at a pretty simple example of this. Say on January 1st of a given year, you purchase a truck for $22,000. And you estimate that this truck has a useful life of 5 years and a salvage value or resale value, whatever you want to term it, of $2,000. Now, when we're looking at straight line again, what we want to do here, first of all, there's a few things we have to be able to understand. And one of the first things that we need to be able to understand, some definitions that we'll have historical cost. This is essentially the price paid for the asset. We have useful life, and this is essentially how long we're going to have the asset. This is an estimation of how long the asset will be usable for us. The asset will be usable. Okay. We also need to know, and we have it listed here, the salvage value. We have the salvage value, and this is essentially resale, if we want to think about that. We're saying that at the end of this period, how much is this asset going to be worth to us? How much could we sell it for? How much would we anticipate getting it for in trade? Its value. And then the other thing we need to know is depreciable cost. And this could also be, some people call this depreciable value, depreciable cost. What this is essentially, this is the historical cost minus the salvage value. And what that tells us here is how much essentially we can depreciate this asset over its life. So, we've got our truck. We purchased it for $22,000. We have a useful life of 5 years. We have a salvage value of $2,000. So the first thing we need to determine is what is the depreciable cost or depreciable value of this truck. So in this case, the depreciable cost, looking at this, being the historical cost minus the salvage value, in this case that's going to be the $22,000 that we have here minus the $2,000. So depreciable cost is equal to our $22,000 minus $2,000, which means we have $20,000 in depreciable cost. That's how much we can depreciate this truck over the life that we have it. Now, how long are we going to have it? Well, we know that. That's a given here. We're going to have this truck for 5 years. So basically, this is as simple as just taking the depreciable cost and dividing it by the useful number of periods, in this case it's years, that we would have in the useful life of this vehicle. So our depreciation is going to equal the $20,000 divided by the 5 years, which is $4,000 per year. And when we go to journalize this, what we'll have, we'll look at this from the aspect of we're going to have a depreciation expense for the truck, $4,000, and then we'll have accumulated depreciation on this truck for $4,000. Now, We've done this in a yearly format, and that's usually acceptable to do, but sometimes we can do this in different formats as well. Maybe in the case we had here, where we looked above, this was purchased on January 1st. Maybe we don't purchase and put an asset into service at the first of the year. Maybe we do it at another time. So maybe we look at this case and we're going to say, okay, on 4/1 we purchased the same truck. We had the truck that cost us $22,000. We still estimate salvage being, I think it was $2,000, and a useful life of 4 years. Was it 4 or was it 5? 5 years. Okay, change that. A useful life of 5 years. So if we want to know what's the depreciation for year 1, well, we have to think we didn't have this asset in service for a full year, so we kind of have to prorate this in depreciation. So looking at this, we know depreciable cost over the life of this asset is going to be $20,000. Again, that's our historical cost of 22 here minus our salvage value. So looking at this, a 5-year period, we figured earlier, divided by 5, we'd have $4,000 per year. Now, here, if we prepare our financial statements at the end of the year, 12/31, well, we're not looking at having a full year depreciation. Essentially, a full year we know would be 12 out of 12 months. In this case, though, we didn't have a full year. We put this truck into service or purchased it on 4/1, and in that case, we had January, February, and March where we didn't have that truck. So here for this truck, we're looking at the first year. We're really looking at this 4,000 not multiplied by 12 over 12 or 1. We're looking at it as only being 9 out of 12 months that we've used this truck in the first year. So for depreciation of the first year in this case, we'll have our 4,000 multiplied by 9/12. And when we look at this, let's see, we have 4 times 9 is 36,000 over 12, which means the first year, because we did not have this in service for a full year, we only had it in service for 9 months out of 12, means the first year we're going to only have depreciation of $3,000. So our depreciation expense will be $3,000. Our accumulated depreciation will be $3,000. Year 2, in this case, we will look at the $4,000 because in year 2 we go from January to December, assuming that's our fiscal year. We'll have a full year's of depreciation here for $4,000. So when we're looking at straight line depreciation, to recap, we need to take historical cost, and we subtract from that the depreciable cost, we subtract from historical cost the salvage or resale value to get our depreciable cost. And to determine the depreciation per period, it's depreciable cost divided by the number of periods we are depreciating. So I hope this helps a little bit with straight line depreciation. Any more requests, I'll make some videos to put out there, but in the meantime, stay safe and take care.